a good week. I'm here to give you your overview for week 11. Now, remember, we're getting towards the point where we are going to turn in our annotated bibliography. That's coming up a little bit later this week. Of course, let's go ahead and start off with our overview. You're looking at this right now, but let me walk you through the big events for this week. Now, when it comes to the work that we're going to do this week, a lot of it is still hinging on getting that annotated bibliography ready to turn in. It's a great preparatory step for your outline that's coming up next. A lot of you have already done peer review. If you have not done it yet, I want you to do it this week, okay? And you will be getting a separate email from me and or a remind telling you I want you to do it and I'd like you to set it up. If you want to work with your same peer you did before, that's great. If you want to work somebody new, I'm totally fine with that too. Just let me know. So we're also going to be looking at the theme of language in literary asylums. And even though it is a bit about home, it's more about, I think, wealth and power in retrospect. About something much bigger than just where we consider to be our base. So for Monday, you're going to be reading and annotating that. It's a very short piece, but it's going to be a little bit challenging. I'm going to let you know that off the bat, and I will show you what I mean here. All right, as soon as it loads. So there's a poem here, Exiles. You don't need to read that, but you're just reading these sections, writing, reading, and being. This next thing, Quintino, that's a whole different poem. You can tell, look at how much bigger the font is for this entry than for this, being it smaller. So that's one way of knowing that it's something completely different. Also, this date here at the bottom shows you that that's the end of that literary asylums piece. If you notice, like, you've got the same size font for Quintino and literary asylums. So you're going to read writing, reading, and being. And it's very metaphorical, and it's got a lot of imagery in it. Some of it that is about violence and power, breaking free, but also being caged. So if it doesn't make like literal sense, that's okay. It's going to be a little bit strange. Just go with the imagery and roll with it. There's no right or wrong answer when we're doing these discussions, but they're really just about pushing our ability to pull what we can out of language and out of imagery and to put it down there and to, pretty much throw out ideas on it. I mean, this work is really loose in some ways, but it's good for us to like connect, looser part of our imagination when we're reading to make connections. We can tighten things up down the road if we need to, but for this, go ahead and latch on to what is most interesting to you. And of course, I've given you some ideas for that, and I will show you them right here in the discussion. So I'm asking you to think about what Juan Felipe Herrera thinks about the difference between rich writers, which he calls our writers for some reason. I don't have an answer for that. And poor writers, or unrich writers, as he sometimes calls them. And then I'm asking you to think about, are there other differences between how rich writers and poor writers work and live in the world? So again, this is something that you get to then think about and make some kind of, hypothesis or speculation about. Again, no right or wrong answer, but I'm asking you to think about these kind of deep questions because we're moving forward with our essays, which is all about language. And for people learning a new language or with people without a language, I think we've already got a good idea on a couple different levels, how that relates to the relative power they have or don't have in certain social situations and contexts, even societies. Another question I'm asking you is, what do you think Herrera is trying to say about the relationship between writing and power and about reading and power? And how do you think power or wealth affects writing? And that's totally your opinion. How do you think they affect reading? Um, Feel free to answer these as you see fit, right? You can work on both of them. If you just want to work on one of them, I'm totally okay with that as well. I do want you to write down at least one strong line. I keep on building a definition for that. Here, a couple of phrases or sentences that speak to you. It could be something that relates to your response, or maybe it's something that doesn't. It just really sticks out to you. I think one variation of strong line, maybe it's a completely different kind of line, is a mystifying line, something that makes you see or understand something new. Um, if you're not sure what that new something is, like it's turning something inside you. I think that's something important. Sometimes we get this kind of like hint that something different is happening in the way we're thinking about something or looking at something, but we might not be able to just come out and say it yet. Here's a chance for you to just kind of like take a stab at that kind of stuff. And, before like the language really starts to pop up and allow you to explain it. Sometimes we have an idea, but we don't have words for it yet, I think is what I'm trying to say here. So have fun with that too. And like I said before, I know this piece is really challenging in some ways. Just pretend like it's a song with a bunch of imagery there and see what you can do with that imagery. All right. Then add a question or two for your classmates. You know how this works. We've been doing this for a long time now. Going back to our overview, you're going to post that comment on discussion. And remember, like the majority of the work this week is making sure we're refining those annotated bibliographies and getting them ready to turn in. If you notice, we're going to post comments on Thursday like we always do. We'll be doing an in-class activity relating to our work on the essay. And on Friday, you're going to submit your essay 2 annotated bibliography. I'm not going to have you submit both those things in the same day. Plus, there may be some last-minute questions about formatting or structure that we can address during class when we come up on Thursday. So that's what we're looking at right there. And if you notice, I've given you the annotated bibliography peer review instructions. I know a lot of you missed because you were sick. I appreciate you making sure that you let me know. That's definitely the right thing to go. I hope everybody's feeling better and ready to hit this on the road. Now, if you haven't done the peer review, I do still want you to do it because I think it's so important to get used to talking about your work and your writing with other people, but also refining your ability to talk with other people about their writing. Those are super important skills, and they're really important in all kinds of lines of work. And we've got to build up that ability and that kind of toughness to hear people talk about our work. Sometimes we don't want to hear about it because it's like our baby. I've said this before, but it'll make you better. So for those of you who missed, you're going to put your name here and the reviewer's name here. You might have to just put this into an email that you sent to your peer. Now, if you want to use the same peer that you used earlier, that's fine. If not, let me know, and I'll set you up with somebody new. Totally up to you. I want you to write out your thesis in a few words. It could be something as simple as English immersion in general is the best way for English language learners to learn English. Or bilingual education is the best way for ELL students, English language learner students, to learn English. That's simple. Then you're going to put those 3 concerns you have about your annotated bibliography. If you're not sure what to put, you can go ahead and look at these right here, the tasks that you'll be doing on the review end, looking at the summary structure, looking at that statement of usefulness underneath, terminology. I'm not expecting everybody to be experts, but we know there are definitely some specialized terms that may need some greater explanation. Now, remember, you're going to respond to all of these in an email. Send them to me and to your peer. I'll probably put up a submission box just to make it easier for you to do it this week, just because I do think it's that important. Now, After you've done these three and put them in an email to your peer and to me, you are going to take a look at the paint job issues, the grammar, the punctuation, and the diction in those small little summaries and statements of usefulness. Afterwards, MLA format. Remember, this is also a rough cut of our works cited page. Remember, we're going to be looking at that hanging indent, the article entries in alphabetical order, everything double-spaced, and in the MLA 12-point Times New Roman font. Now, once you've done all of this for your peer and sent it off to them, and they've done the same to you, you're going to do this part. You're going to answer these questions. What feedback in this review do you think is the most helpful to you? And that's really important, right? You've got to reflect upon the review. You have to review the review. If you never really decide what you're going to do with that information your reviewer gave you, it's not time well spent. And then you'll send this off to me through Canvas, and you'll be done with that. So again, it's really important. Do expect contact from me if you did happen to miss last Thursday. We'll take care of that. Notice I've also got a student example of an annotated bibliography. And notice it's in alphabetical order. And notice you have the summary and a nice space between that and the statement of usefulness. And again, you know, this structure is just to help you find that information and keep it organized for later on. And again, if you've got other questions about that, don't hesitate to contact me. So again, this is a refining week. This is kind of a big thing for us to do. But it's really important to make sure that we've got those steps all ready to go. Finally here, your annotated bibliography submission point. Coming up, oops, and I didn't put the details in there. It's just going to say, hey, go ahead and upload your annotated bibliography here. And I'll put all the points in there too and make sure that's easy for you to understand. That's it for this week, but I think that's going to be more than enough as we get closer and closer to the rough draft of this essay. I know it's kind of a challenging dry project. Remember, if you're still having some issues with how to read these articles, I've got how to read a database journal article in week 10. I also have how to build an annotated bibliography. So there are lots of resources here to help you out, and feel free to run it by me. No matter what you've got, I can give you pointers along the way. And if you're still having issues with some of the articles, I would love to help you out with those as well. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll be talking to you all soon.